Hey guys, 8 here with an UmaMusume scenario guide. If you have not played the game before, this is the guide for you. Let's start by clicking here and selecting a scenario. We can start the run by making a build. First, select an Uma to train. As you can see, there are 5 stats that you can train, each represented by an icon. Shoe for speed, heart for stamina, biceps for power, flame for guts, and hat for wisdom. Let's take a look at the Uma's training bonus. This shows the growth rate of a particular stat for the Uma. Your goals for a run will depend on the activity you want to train for, but starting out you should try to fill up your stadium roster as soon as possible. These are the stat goals that you should aim for when completing a run. S rank on distance, enough stamina, speed, 400 wisdom, enough power, followed by guts. Now let's choose our Uma's inspirations. Inspirers give stats, skills, and aptitudes. You can check them by long-clicking the inspirer and navigating to the inspiration menu. This shows the possible skills and aptitudes it can provide as an inspirer. You can choose 2 inspirer Umas. Each one's stats correspond to the stat colors shown here. Aptitudes can be upgraded by 2 levels, but only up to A before the run starts. So if your Uma has B or C aptitude, it can be increased to A on this screen. However, during this scenario, there's a chance for an inspiration event to raise it up to S. Now let's build our support deck. You can't use support cards featuring the same Uma as the one you're training. You can't use 2 support cards featuring the same Uma. Here's a list of good free-to-play cards that you can use starting out. Your deck should always consist of a wisdom card and at least 2 speed cards. The rest will depend on the race distance and Uma training bonus. You can potentially use 1 less support card depending on the Uma's stat training bonus. For example, if your Uma has 20% speed growth, you can use 2 speed cards instead of 3. You can use the friend finder for max limit break support cards to borrow. I suggest borrowing Kitasan's speed card if you want a high roll, or Tazuna friendship card for a more stable run. Now let's do a brief walkthrough of the URA scenario. I will put the English UI on the left side for reference. Let's start with the main objectives of a run. You have to meet 2 main objectives for each run. The run will end if you fail to meet these objectives. You have scenario objectives and Uma specific objectives. Uma objectives depend on the specific Uma. It can be getting a certain amount of fans, finishing a certain place in a race, or simply participating in races. Remember to keep an eye on them by clicking this button. It shows the time of the year and conditions for meeting these objectives. Each action you take, be it training, resting, dating, going to the infirmary, or racing, uses up a turn. You get 2 turns each month. There are 12 months in a year and the entire scenario takes place over 3 years. Each turn takes you closer to the respective objectives. This is your Uma's current motivation. The better the motivation, the more stats you get when training, and you also get better at races. This is your Uma's energy bar. It is one of the most important things to manage in a run. Training drains your energy bar, but you can gain a little bit by training wisdom. Training in each facility will give you a large amount of the main stat and a small amount of 1 or 2 other stats. Those are fixed, so for example, training in the power facility will always give you a lot of power and a little bit of stamina. Training facilities increase in level depending on how many times you use the facility. Higher level facilities give you more stats for training there. Supports appear randomly when you're training. Training with them gives extra stats and increases your bond or friendship with them. At the start of a run, you should focus on increasing bonds. Increase bonds to orange for a potential rainbow effect that gives you friendship bonuses. Exclamation marks give you either a new skill, a discount on an existing skill, or stats, and increases the bond with that support card. Sometimes you get a random support card event that gives you stats and skills, which also increases your bond. When you start to get low on energy, you can see that there's a failure chance percentage above the training facilities. Now you can make a decision to either high roll, rest, go dating, or do a race. Resting Racing gives a lot of energy, but a small chance of getting the insomnia debuff. Dating gives you a chance to increase your motivation, but less energy is recovered. Friendship cards like the Tazuna card unlock special dating events. These special dating events are usually not random and thus make your runs more safe and predictable. You can also get a small amount of energy by doing wisdom training. A small tip is to try to min-max your energy bar. Don't waste turns resting if you have more than half your energy. Racing during a scenario is mostly for meeting objective goals, but you can choose to race if you have bad training turns and don't want to rest. Racing gives a lot of skill points and a small chance of obtaining a skill at the end of the race. Here's a simple flowchart to help you make decisions on your turns if you are in doubt at any point during the scenario training. You can get buffs or debuffs to your Uma as you're playing through a scenario. You can check your buffs and debuffs by clicking this button. When you fail a training, you have a chance to get a debuff. Debuffs also happen through predetermined or random character events. Racing too many times in a row can also get you a debuff. You can also get them from random events and support cards. You can remove most debuffs by going to the infirmary. It uses up a turn and there is a very small chance that the debuff doesn't get cured and you have to go again. There are other ways to remove debuffs like the shrine dating event and certain support card events. Buffs and debuffs last for the entire scenario and do not affect your horse's performance after you finish it. In this menu, you can check your Uma's skills. Skills are activated during races, some randomly and some predetermined. All Umas also have several skills that are automatically unlocked, and you can also awaken more of them with materials you get by playing scenarios. Awakened skills are unlocked permanently, so that's another one of those things that you can carry over between runs. You may get skills through inheritance events, support card hints, random events, or at the end of a race. You can buy skills with skill points earned during scenario training. Once you've confirmed buying them, the skills learned are permanent and cannot be refunded or changed. Remember to use up all of your skill points at the end of a scenario, as any wasted will not carry over to the next run. And that's all for the basic scenario guide. Hope this video helped you guys learn more about how to play scenarios in UmaMusume. See you guys on launch and happy training!